Class, live, Q, and A. What's up, guys? We got the Manifesting Masterclass. We're doing a live Q&A tonight. So anybody that wants to submit questions or anything, we will answer them on the live. Just submit it through the YouTube, because I don't look at this screen. I'm looking up here. But what's up, everybody? All right, let me pull up the comment section so I can make sure I see if you guys ask any comments. And while we're doing it, we will do what we usually do, which is start with some breath work, right? We're going to activate that parasympathetic nervous system, get things going. So good to see you guys. Hey, you made it to a stream. So happy to have you on the stream. So fun. Awesome. Okay, we're going to breathe in through the nose, and then we're going to exhale through the mouth in a prolonged exhale. You can just follow my hand. So go ahead and breathe in through the nose. Exhale. Hold it. Breathe in through the nose. Exhale. Hold. Breathe in through the nose for the last one. Exhale. Hold. Amazing. Awesome. I love to always start with some breath work, just because, number one, it sets the system. It pulls you into that parasympathetic state, allows things to absorb, but also allows you to connect to what is, which obviously, helps me as we do this. What I wanted to start with tonight, I actually decided we're going to push the water teachings to tomorrow. And tonight we're just going to do a Q&A. So any questions that you guys have. I've obviously covered a lot of information and sometimes it can be expansion, information. And I try to repeat certain themes just so that it's not, you guys drinking out of a fire hose, but so that you're getting confirmation as well of some of these principles that are super important to embody. As we do it, feel free to post any questions that you have. Anything that you want supplemental information on, and we'll just see where it goes. It always goes exactly where it needs to. And while you guys think of some questions or maybe some things that you would like a little bit more of a different perception or something like that, an expanded awareness, I wanted to share something with you. I recently saw a comment on the video yesterday, and it was a beautiful comment. And somebody was just asking, how can they help, as a mother? And this applies to anybody, right? Because whether you have children, whether it's family and friends, or just people around you, a lot of times, when you're on the path, you'll have people that are what some people would term unconscious, right? I don't love to use those terms just because we're all, embodying energy of being conscious and unconscious at the same time, and so generally when we can point to somebody else and we're just like, they're unconscious, it's just a piece of ourselves that we haven't met yet, right? Where we haven't seen, where we still continually sleep, because this isn't an on or off switch, right? It's a spectrum. You can come into unity, you can unify with many aspects, but there's more aspects that you can unify with. And so this applies to everybody. But the woman was essentially asking how to help her children, right? So that they're not born with the same kind of like baggage or energetic densities, or they don't grow up with the things that we do. And there's a couple of important things that I thought, that we should mention here, because again, this applies to friends and family that you're dealing with. This applies to any reparenting that you're doing with yourself, right? Much Spiritual expansion comes from doing, reparenting, working with your own inner child, because you are the same energy that you were as a child. We might manifest as different, we might look a little bit older, but you are still that child, right? And so oftentimes when you weren't held in the way that you needed to be, we have to go in and we have to reparent. Remember, time is not linear, my friends. We experience time as if we're moving through it, but time is simply a construct. The future is occurring right now. The present, obviously, is right now. The past is right now, which is tough for the logical mind, to comprehend. This is also why many times people think of reincarnation as if it's something that transition through, where it's like you have a past life, then you're in your current life, and you go into a next life. And that is nice for the conscious mind to understand. But technically, all of your lives are happening concurrently, right? Kind of explodes your brain. All of those past lives, you could actually be interacting in your life with another version of you, which is why in the Maya, they say, in la catch all akin, I am another you, because in many ways it is true. um, but time is not linear, which means if something hurt you in the past, you can heal it in the now, right? You can work with it in the now. But anyways, I'm getting off track. So she asked, how can you help a child, right? Or your children, so they don't have to deal with the same things that you had to? The first thing is to realize that everybody's life is unfolding exactly the way that it's meant to. Okay. This can be really tough to integrate and understand and hold, especially when you have experienced hard traumas. Okay. It doesn't mean that something was deserved. It doesn't mean that you called it into you. It simply means that you came and have an experience, right? You're experiencing a trauma that many people don't go through, and you have the opportunity to alchemize that energy. And that is a service to the broader collective, right? Because you have to move through shadow to transmute it and to expand it, not to raise it, right? We don't need to think in hierarchy. Everybody thinks we need to raise vibration. No, it's to expand, right? To come into unity. So, your children, your family, your friends are all having the exact experience that they're meant to have. You being the person that you are in their life, whether it expands them or triggers them or whatever it may be, as long as you are in your authentic expression, you are exactly who you are meant to be. Okay. Reality is infinite mirrors of one source that is expressing in infinite lenses, right? We see it everywhere. When you fragment your expression, when you perform an expression, when try to like act in a certain way so that people will perceive you a certain way, you are not holding up a mirror. You are holding up a fun house mirror, right? A distorted mirror, those mirrors that you can kind of like stand in front and it'll make you look like super fat or super skinny, right? That's what happens when we perform. And I get it. We all perform for many reasons. I used to be so performative because I just wanted people to feel safe, for people to feel loved, for people to feel accepted. And the more I tried to control how people would perceive me, the more that they would not perceive me, right? They would not understand it. And so I would like dig my heels in and it's like, no, you're just not understanding. Here's what it is, right? And it just created this feedback loop that was truly manifesting and reflecting to me the distortion that I was doing, but I was just unconscious, right? And so I just thought they weren't understanding. So I need to explain more, or I need to do a better job of holding the space, or whatever it may be. You are exactly who you are meant to be. And so the most beautiful thing is, if you do have children, you are the exact mother, father, aunt, uncle, whoever it is in your life, you're exactly who you are supposed to be. The most loving thing that you can do for anybody that you interact with is provide a space where they feel safe to be seen. Okay. So, my children, I have children, right? And They inherited much of my energy and much of my ancestral line's energy and much of the energy from my ex-wife, and I see it manifested in them, right? And so I see myself in them. I see it when they'll have some of these tantrums or breakdowns, you know? I used to be consumed by my perfectionism, and if things weren't perfect or if everybody's emotion wasn't okay, right? If someone had a big emotion or a sad emotion, because I grew up around a lot of it, it would create chaos for me because I was like, oh no, there's going to be a breakdown. And it's like, I don't know how to hold it. I don't know how to manage all of this. And so I see it in my children. Sometimes, you know, these emotions will come in and it's just this internal environment that they can't hold. So what do I do? Well, obviously, I'm not going to sit down with them, you know, and just be like, you know, here's what you need to do with your emotions, right? Because they're 4, they're 5, they're not going to understand. So what I do is I provide a space for them where they can be in that emotion, right? I can allow them to speak. Okay, what are you feeling? What are you experiencing? And then generally what I do is I come to their level and I say, hey, dad had that energy. Dad has that energy. And that is a lot for a child to have. Did you know that in the same way that you are made up of, you know, ingredients from dad and from mom and from all the people that came before us to make your unique combination, those ingredients mean that you have similar energy, right? And I just sit down with them and I let them know in that space. It's like, I see you. I see what you're experiencing. I have had similar experiences, but you tell me, what is this like for you? What are you feeling right now? What does your body feel, right? And it's really cool because, you know, my young children, they'll come to me a lot of times and they're just like, you know, I feel really bad because I had a friend who wanted to be, you know, they wanted us to be bullies to someone else. And I was like, okay. And she was like, my daughter was like, you know, it made me feel really excited in my body. Like it kind of felt exciting to be mean. Does that mean I'm a bad person? Does that mean something is wrong? Right. And so we sat down and we were just like, hey, well, no, but what could that excitement be? Right. Mom and dad in the past year and a half got divorced. And so I'm sure there's a lot of energy in your body that is angry or energy that feels unseen, or maybe some energy that feels hurt. And sometimes when we don't acknowledge those pieces, we want to express it, right? We want to hurt someone else, or we want to be angry to someone else because maybe you don't want to be angry at mom and dad because you love mom and dad, right? And it's cool because as we can tap into those moments, right, we can see, okay, what is the space? What is this teaching you? What does it feel like in your body? Because children, right, are highly intuitive. This is why they ask why. This is why they're so curious with so many things. They're like, why is this? Why is that? Why is that? And sometimes it can be a little obnoxious as an adult, right? Because it just requires so much energy. But this is an example of things that you can do with yourself, okay? There are times, right, in my relationship, you know, Christine and I, right, we hold these beautiful mirrors. And the deeper the depth of love that you are in, this goes for an individual as well as those in companionship, the more shadow that is going to surface because you're held and you can witness it. So there have been times in our relationship where a trigger will come in and it will ignite a pattern, right? And it's just like, oh my gosh, like it creates this reaction within me, right? Obviously, there's the emotional intelligence, there's the ability to witness, and it's like, okay, what is this? And I will go into another room and I will sit down and I will meditate. And when I meditate, I'm not creating stillness, I'm not bypassing, I'm literally tapping in to the 4-year old, the 5-year old, the 6-year old version of me. Oftentimes, I will see that child, right? And I'll see him in this chaos or not feeling safe or not feeling seen. And it's my opportunity to sit with him and provide that space, not tell me, hey, you know, you're being silly or you need to get over this or why have I not expanded past this pattern? It's just like, hey, what are you feeling right now? Right? What are you feeling right now? Because that child is still with you. Time doesn't exist in the way that we experience it. It is all happening right now. So that child that didn't get their needs, taken care of, that child that didn't feel safe to express, that child that didn't feel seen or heard, it's still within you. And this is why when you can pull into those triggers, when you can witness these things, you can call in these versions of yourself and you can sit with them. But again, I just want to remind you guys, um, okay. Move the phone from the computer. We'll see how we can do this. Thanks, Christine. Let me see. We'll put the phone up right here. That's fine. But go on YouTube. The sound's going to be much better on YouTube. But when you are, experiencing that chaos, right? It is showing you where you can reparent your children, your inner child. Excuse me. Those of us that have children, this is also one of the most therapeutic practices that you can do, because yes, children are chaotic. Children are a little bit crazy, right? They're crazy because they're born into our energies that we didn't deal with, or the ancestors' energy, that ancestral line. They have the gifts, but also they got to deal, with some of those shadows. But just know it is all unfolding perfectly. And the most important thing in every aspect is, how can I experience more love? How can I express more love? How can I hold this space in more love? Before we dive into some of these questions, I want to say, well, actually, yeah, you love how this unifies both the individual and collective human experience. Yeah, exactly. And the reason why it unifies all of it is because, guys, all separation is an illusion. It's all an illusion. The collective healing we require is the same as the individual healing that is required. The collective journey of coming into coherent energy and progress is the same reason why the individual needs to come into coherent energy, right? To unify all these parts. It is the infinite micro is the infinite macro, right? As above, so below, as within, so without. And this is why you can see these mirrors, whether it's a collective mirror, whether it's a national mirror, whether it's a communal mirror, and you can also see them present within your internal universe. But one of the things that I really was feeling strongly that I wanted to speak to is every single experience that you are having, every single experience that you have exists on a spectrum, okay? And the way that you can experience divinity or the self or union with the divine in any experience is, how do you have that experience in the highest, or again, oh my god, don't take that word, not highest, in the most expansive form of love. So for example, most people, right, when we're communicating, we're using words. There's a dialogue. Sometimes we get triggered with our partners in our dialogues, and it creates this pattern where they don't feel seen, so they want to be understood, but I don't feel seen, so I need to be understood. And it's basically two people screaming at each other, but no one feels heard. Okay. We understand this logically. If you have two radio stations that are playing, they're tuned into a different radio station and they're playing at the same time, it is very confusing. It is very hard to pay attention to, and not a lot of communication happens. Now, what is the desired goal in any form of communication? It is to establish a connection so that you and I can convey information, so that we can understand what is going on in each person's internal environment, the universe that we are, right? Because you interpret this reality differently than I do. We have different internal programming. We see things differently. We interpret things differently. This is why twins can be born into the same home, right, and experience things differently, or siblings can be born into the same home, experiencing the same actions, but can view them differently. It's why a certain person can witness a bee and say, wow, honey, and someone else can see it and be like, danger, I'm going to be stung, right? It is our internal reality, the lens, the programming that shapes our experience, okay? So when we are communicating, we are looking to establish a line to where we can convey information and understand where each party is coming from. Me, in my previous relationship, we would be kicked into our patterns, right? It was a very karmic relationship. We were jabbing each other's wounds to show where we could still grow, where we could still expand, where we still had programming that was collapsing us or limiting us. My ex-wife and I, like for me, my problem was I would try to over explain, because if she could not see where I was coming from, I'm like, I just need to explain this even better. And as you guys can see from these lives, I love to talk a lot. And she did not want to hear me talk because she was like, you're not getting it, right? Because I wasn't hearing her perspective. When things began to shift, remember, the highest, most divine experience is when you experience union. Union is love. It is the turning of one radio station, right, for your partner and tuning in to their station, right? Because before they're going to understand you, you need to tune into them. If you have the emotional intelligence, right, to witness and to understand what communication is, oftentimes it kind of falls on your shoulders to tap in, right? There's many people in my life where it's just like, oh, I would love to sit down with them and just be like, hey, here's the way that it is. But I need to tune in to where they are at, understand where they are at, see, like come into their internal universe, the way they perceive things. And when they see that I understand them, generally they feel safe enough to now listen, because you're not trying to tell them that they're wrong, right? You're not trying to tell them that all the problem's on them. You're just trying to say, hey, I hear where you're coming from. Can I tell you the way that I'm perceiving things, right? Communication, when you are dialed into the frequency of whoever you're communicating with, when the shared goal and objective is to understand first and then communicate, you experience one of the highest forms of communication, because the illusion of separation begins to dissolve, right? Words are not the best way to communicate, but the best way to communicate with words is when it's based in love. Our triggers are generally the things that tell us we're not safe to be in love, right? And then trigger kind of like that response. The same reflection goes with you, okay? When you are trying to call in the emotions that you are experiencing, when you're trying to call in the energetic densities that you're feeling, the tightness, the heaviness, the exhaustion, if you truly want to understand, if you truly want to witness the highest form, the most expanded form, the divine form, is establishing the connection, which means you meet it where it is, right? You go into that shadow. I just posted a video today about how we need to put respect on bats. You know, bats are considered so sacred and so holy within so many shamanic traditions. It is a spirit guide. Why? But because it walks between worlds. It is just as good, if not better, in the shadow and the darkness as far as moving around through its echolocation as it is in the light, right? It sends out a signal and then it listens to the signal and it aggregates that information. This is a reflection of you, my friends. Okay? We all have this ability when we go into our shadow, when we go into the unknown. And I'm speaking to the things that sometimes we just don't even want to see. A lot of times people will come to me in coaching, right? And they're like, I keep calling in the shadow, but the answer isn't coming. And I'm like, you don't want to see the answer, right? You need to ask yourself, why do I not want to see this answer? Me, before my answer came in, right? I, for weeks, felt this massive energy inside, this tension, this feeling like something needs to happen, just shift, you know? And I was like, oh my gosh, what is it going to be? And then as me and my now ex-wife began talking about, you know, maybe this relationship isn't the best place for us, right? My biggest fear, it was my biggest fear. I would meditate, I would create stillness, I would try to find the answer, and it would just be like, no, you don't, let's just see where things go. You know, you don't have the answer. You don't have the answer. And I was so frustrated because I was just like, why can't I see it? I guess I just have to wait. I couldn't see it because I didn't want to see it, right? I was suppressing it. I was doing this performative, like, let me see the answer, but I already knew what the answer was. And I didn't want to see it because I wanted to perform a different version. I wanted to exist in a reality that was the different version. I did not want to go through what I was going to go through. Okay. This is what the shadow is. It's like you know, but you don't know. You know what I'm saying? Many of you, if I can just speak directly to those of you, let's establish a connection right now. You and I, we are locked in. Many of you are searching for answers that you already have. There's just fear around the movement or the action or the embodiment of that answer. Okay. You are just like a bat. You are even better in the shadow. Okay. You have echolocation. You can listen, you can witness, you can receive the information, and you can move. Because remember, light and shadow are the same source expressing, the same source that is in you fully, which means your light and shadow are just you. It is just love. What waits for you on the other side of any fear? It is love. Any opposition or friction that you are facing, there is an equal and opposite and even more expansive energy waiting for you on the other side. This is why they say the cave you are the most afraid of holds the treasures you are looking for. Okay. You are just in an inverted plane right now. I saw an awesome video the other day where this is going to be you're going to have to use your imagination with this, okay? But they were saying in a two-dimensional plane, imagine this is like my microphone is somebody wearing a hat and the marker is the hat, okay? Well, for the marker to switch or flip, it has to rotate in a three-dimensional plane, and then that shift happens, okay? Many people, this is why you have to embody the 3D and the 5D. Many people are in an inverted plane. The mirror, the reflection is dictating to them who and what they are, right? They're sitting and looking at the mirror and allowing it to shape them, and they take on that shaping. This is where it's like you inherit programming from your surroundings. You look at your surroundings to dictate whether you are safe to express, right? You're just the other side of the mirror. You are going to wait for eons being the reflection, right? Thinking that you're the reflection and waiting for the source signal to show you what you are. You are the source signal. Okay. If you want the mirror to smile, you have to smile. If you're waiting for the reflection to smile back while you're sitting there, it's never going to smile. It's just reflecting you to you, right? This is why you embody that fifth dimension, alpha and omega, every timeline, every potential. Anything inside of you that doesn't make you feel safe enough to embrace that is showing you the opportunity to come into more union, okay? But the shift happens outside of the dimension that you are in. And when you shift from being the thinking you're the reflection to being the source signal, that is where the internal universe shapes your external. It is always shaping the external, but it's just to be unconscious, right? Is to think you're the reflection. Carl Jung says this by saying, if you look into the mirror, you're asleep. If you look inwards, you're awake. Okay. Um, anyways, I would love to see some questions. Can you explain, if we already wrote the book and if all happens in divine timing, how then can we manifest or create the life that we want? How can we figure out what's already written and works? Yeah, 1,000%. Okay. So this comes down to the masculine and feminine principles coming together in union, which is the only way that creation happens. Okay. So it is a paradox. There is a masculine principle that is all about projection. It is about structure. It is about being specific, right? Movement towards something. There is a feminine principle that is paradoxical, and it is equally as important for creation. It is the receptive principle. It is surrender. It is release. Okay. So I'll give you a couple of analogies to help the mind kind of like grasp onto these concepts. So the feminine is like a river that is moving, okay? And if it doesn't have the masculine principle, if it doesn't have river banks, There is no direction. The water just floods. Okay. Not a lot of creation is going to happen with floods. Actually, a lot of destruction can happen. But the river banks will guide it, right? But a bank isn't telling the river it has to go a certain way. There's kind of like a co-creation aspect that happens, right? Water generally finds the path of least resistance, and then banks are formed, okay? You are the author of the book while also being the character moving through the book. Okay. Another way to say this is if you are the river right now, you are experiencing floating down the river on your flotation device, right? The current is taking you down. But you are also consciously connected to the river. You can think of it as like your oversoul, the higher self, the divine self. Okay. Anytime you hold an intention, right? Let's say the intention is your highest timeline, your highest authentic expression, the expression where you cannot miss anything that is meant for you, but you also are not going to create anything that is meant for or not meant for you, right? This is kind of like the surrendering of your will, but it's not surrendering to a higher power or to something outside of you. It's just surrendering to the piece of you that is the knower while you're experiencing the not knowing, right? The other side of the veil, but it's both pieces of you. When you consciously hold something, the path creates the perfect circumstances for you to become what your intention is. So, for an example, me, when I went through my awakening, right? I felt into a highest potential, which I need to tell all of you when I say highest potential, again, this isn't through hierarchy. I simply mean like what people would say is your highest timeline, right? Your authentic expression, the divine's self path. Many words for it. Just don't want to reinforce hierarchy. Um, I felt into that potential. Okay. I saw and things that I've always known since I was a child. There's many things that you guys know that are meant for you. Okay. But maybe you just don't know how it's going to happen or how it's going to be created. And so you create a little bit of chaos. But I knew it. And that's what my soul desire is to be it. And guess what? Everybody, if your soul's desire is to be your highest authentic expression, you're on the path. You did it. Congratulations. You don't need to worry anymore about whether you're on the path. You're already on it. You're tapped in, you're aligned with it. But now the path is going to create circumstances that give you the skill sets that sharpen the tool, right? Pressure makes diamonds, iron sharpens iron. The good, the bad, the left, the right, all of it is going to happen so that you can experience the becoming, but in the same way that an acorn contains the entire energetic blueprint for the oak tree that it's going to become. The energy, the potential, it's already there within you. Okay. Sure. Do we have potentials that are other timelines? Do we have potentials and other things that we can create and manifest? Absolutely. But the thing is, your intention is far more than what the mind's intention is. It is the soul level intention, the self that exists beneath all of your programming. There's so many times on my path where I was just like, dude, I wish so badly that I could just do something else. I'm like, this is like so much of a struggle and it's so much friction and I'm tired and I'm exhausted. But I don't actually wish that, right? It's what I was asking for. There's times where massive shadow was in my life, where I thought I was being punished, where I thought things weren't working out, that I was not living up to my potential. It was surfacing all of that kind of like scarcity energy, the lack energy, the fear-based energy. And anytime I would create stillness and I was like, why is this happening to me? Why? I'd pull into the victim. It was like, bro, this is what you're asking for. This is what you want, right? Because to really tap into your power, your strength, your energy, it's going to require an equal measure of friction, of opposition. But the suffering doesn't come from the friction and the opposition. It is actually very simple to move through friction and opposition in a relatively ease, or peaceful state. It is our projection on the path saying it has to look this way. It has to manifest this way. It has to be this way. And when it's not what we're expecting, and it's never what you expect, it's never what you expect, right? This is why so many people that tout information online where they're like, you have to be hyper specific, you have to have the vision boards. And they're like, look, the vision board works for me because look at everything that is happening to me. I promise you, one of the unifying factors that you will see in people teaching this is access to privilege, right? They're just translating their own privilege through a manifesting lens because then they feel better about the privilege that they have and the access that they have to, right? But if mood boards worked, right, we would be telling everybody in Palestine or in some of these different areas, children born into slavery, where it's like, just put it on your mood board to get out of slavery and it would work. There's a reason. Oh no, I just got disconnected from the camera. We're going to reconnect. One moment. Sometimes this happens. Let me see. Can you guys hear me at least? Oh, okay. There's the bad camera. Now we're going to go to the webcam and pops up. It popped up. Perfect. Now we can zoom in for a second. Let's see. Camera up. And we are back. I think. Can you guys see me? No? Oh my goodness. Technical difficulties. Let me try this. FaceTime and now Extra Muse. Oh, I don't know why it's not working. That is frustrating. Let me give one more minute to see if we can get this going. But if not, I can finish with some audio. And I'll see if there's, oh, okay. Well, the graphic is up, but I don't know why this isn't. Okay. Well, that's not working. But anyways, what I will say is, the important thing is to realize that not only have you written the book, you have written every book, okay? You have written every possible timeline, every possible experience that can happen, every single thing. And you can spend time chasing other versions or chasing things that you think you need or things that you think you want. But the issue is all of that is a form of fragmentation. There is only one expression that is the whole united, unity consciousness, the full expression of the authentic being. And so the most important thing with manifestation is the realization that the life that you want is attracted to you through the reflective principle of this reality, through the embodiment of unity within yourself, being your fullest authentic expression. But you have to release or you have to surrender any expectations of what you think that can look like, okay? If I predicted my timeline, my previous year would have been way different than what it was or what I was expecting. And I had a lot of suffering because I was expecting it to look a certain way. I was expecting things to shift a certain way. I was expecting it to unfold a certain way. Now I can look back on that previous year and I can see how everything unfolded perfectly. Like every single thing was so perfect in sharpening my voice, in sharpening my skill sets, in taking me to the destination that I wanted to go. So the same is with you. And it's the paradox with surrender and creation. Creation requires you moving forward fearlessly, right? So if you feel like you need to express, if you feel like you need to do something, if you feel like something excites you, you feel that flame internally expanding when you think about something, even if you feel fear, even if you feel detraction, right? Every single thing that you meet, if it's collapsing you, it has an opportunity to expand, okay? The reflective energies. One side of the mirror is going to collapse you, the other side of the mirror is going to expand you. And so every collapse is an initiation. Everything that fragments you is something that is calling you into wholeness, right? Because they're all just you. It's all just you. We just experience the fragmentation. If you release any expectations, if you can trust and surrender that it is all unfolding perfectly, if you can come into the witness, right, to see yourself, to witness the fragmentation so that you can come into more wholeness, you are going to create the life that is meant for you. You're going to create the happiest, most abundant, most peaceful state. You don't need to know what that looks like. Right now, you might think it's a dream job, but actually, it could be a dream relationship that leads to a different job, that leads to a different community. You don't know, but the self is guiding you. Okay. And so you don't need to put your conscious energy towards prediction and saying it has to be this way. You put your energy towards witnessing, awareness, transmutation, alchemy, and your internal environment shapes your external world 100%. It does not require effort from you. And this is why you can surrender or like release any expectations of kind of like, how do I create my dream life? By loving yourself unconditionally, by being your fullest expression, by not taking on other people's desires, by deciding right now that you are living for you. This is not an ego. This is not selfish. I'm talking about if something expands you and it gives you life, you follow that path. If something collapses you, if there's an energy exchange where you are not receiving energy and it depletes you, have the courage to witness it, to call it in, to sit with it and be like, what is this teaching me? What is it calling me into? The path will illuminate itself step by step. Okay. This is why it can be a little bit tough to like surrender because you're like, I want to know the exact destination. You don't need to know the destination. Okay. The dream life is unfolding, but it's also revealing itself to you. You cannot predict it. There's not a million years that I could have sat down and dream boarded and predicted who Christine was going to be, how she was going to come into my life, and how we would be that reflection of one another. We could have never found each other, okay? But when we both embodied that internal state of unity, the shift happened. We came into each other's lives. Like I'm telling you guys, if you have not experienced this yet, test these principles out, okay? Just focus on union internally and you will see the shift externally. You do not need to worry about the world, all of us entering the highest timeline. You just embody your highest, most authentic state, and you are automatically in the world where everyone else will be that reflection. Do you see how everything is a reflection of you? There are infinite timelines where other people make different decisions, right? You don't need to worry about anyone else or anything outside of you. You just need to surrender to your path by focusing on unity and allowing that unity to present itself. You can spend your entire life chasing, becoming a millionaire, or building, some business or structure that you think that you have to build it so that you will finally be validated and you can prove to the world that you are worth something, right? That's what you're chasing. But if that is not a part of your highest expression, if that is not a part of your unified field, you will spend your entire life chasing it and you will miss out. You will miss out. You won't achieve it. That hole will never be filled, right? That's why it's a paradox is people think that you have to like specifically tell the outside world what the reflection has to be. And they forget that it is you that is shaping that external reality. It is your internal universe. And all you have to do is love unconditionally, every piece of you. When you love every piece of you unconditionally, you will listen to every piece of you. The piece that tells you, hey, you feel like, for me, right? I'll tell you in mine, the reason why I wasn't able to witness myself for so long in the relationship I was, because I felt like if I broke the relationship, I was a shitty human being. I thought I was an asshole. I thought I would be destroying my, right? It was all these stories. And I was like, no, but I'm a good person. I'm a good person, so I can't do that, right? I adopted these other things. When I chose alignment, I understood, wow, I can still be a good person and say, this relationship isn't what's right for me. And if it's not right for me, it wasn't right for her either. And why would we stay in a relationship where it wasn't right for us? That's not love, right? That's fear. That's fear cosplaying. And so when you love every piece of you, you are willing to listen to every piece. You're willing to hear every piece. And in that listening and hearing, you're being taught where the next expansion is. That is the only thing you need to worry about. Every internal shift it result in an external reflection, in an external movement. It will be a natural byproduct, okay? When I finally witnessed my shadow, where my perfection, my fear, different things were keeping me from creating in the way that I wanted to. When I saw, okay, I want to do all these things, but I'm paralyzed by fear. When I loved that piece of me, okay, fear, I see what you're doing. What are you showing me? What are you teaching me? It's like, oh, I still have fear that it won't work out. Well, what am I afraid that it's not going to work out? Oh, I'm creating a version that it has to be this version, because if it's not this version, then it's not working out. But I can see in my life that every up, every down, every left, every right has been a perfect experience for me. So all of them have worked out, even though they weren't the outcomes that I was maybe hoping for. They were all serving me. Okay, I can remind myself that I'm going to have the exact outcome that it's meant to be. I can't tell you what that outcome is going to be. I can't tell you how the remainder of this, manifesting masterclass is going to be, right? Of course, there's outcomes that I would love to happen. There's different things that I would love to happen, but I cannot force what it's going to be. I can't guarantee what it's going to be. I can't sit here and put all my manifesting energy and say, I want 1 million people to show up to the class tomorrow. And then finally it's going to happen because I manifested it. No. I am fully surrendered to the unraveling, to the unveiling of what it's going to be, but I still move forward fearlessly, right? I still create, I still put action forward. That is what it is, my friends. It is action. What is the next step? But releasing outcomes. Because when you release outcomes, you can witness clearly what is happening. When you witness clearly what is happening, you will see your shadow. You will see your collapses. You will see your limitations. When you see your shadows, collapses, and limitations, you see the opportunities, the initiations, the expansions. And then it's in that alchemy, right? Inviting that wholeness is going to reflect outside of you. Yeah, Christine, beautiful words. It's okay. So you still don't understand how pain and trauma are part of manifesting without feeling like victim blaming. Saying it is a mirror feels wrong when someone does something traumatizing. Yes, I have a book called It Is, and I wrote extensively about this. Reality as a reflection. Remember, reality as a reflection does not mean that you're calling in specific experiences to you, okay? So I have had people in my life that have done things to me, right? I did not call those experiences in. I did not create those experiences. But how it is a mirror is I can witness in those experiences where I did not hold my boundary, where I collapsed my voice out of a fear of expression, right? This is where I tell you guys the key, like pulling into awareness, becoming a lamp unto yourself to witness your reflection, because it does not mean that if you're in a narcissistic relationship that you called in a narcissist or that you're a narcissist, right? It means you have to look at the energies. Okay, I feel like my energy in my job drains me. I feel like I can't speak up when I have good ideas or the ideas aren't heard. I feel like I'm not valued in my work, but yet I collapse. I don't speak up. I don't hold a boundary because I'm afraid of what is going to happen. I'm afraid that I could lose something. These are the reflections, okay? These are the reflections. It does not mean that you're calling in traumatizing experience. This is how, like, some people from a fear-based lens misinterpret the reflective principle of this reality, because they think, it's just like victim blaming, where it's like, hey, if something bad happened to you, it's because it's just reflecting you to you. No, that isn't how it works, right? Many of us experience horrible, terrible things. And honestly, it is a gift to the collective because we experience some of these things so that we can go into the depths of that shadow, so that we can transmute it and take it into wholeness. Because shadow that is suppressed, that passes down generation from generation to generation, it does not go away. Someone has to feel it. Someone has to go into it, okay? Some of us were born into families where families perpetuate terrible, terrible violations of another person's sovereignty. Remember, we are all co-creators within this plane, even if it's unconscious, which means there are many people who violate other people's sovereignty. The reflection that we can witness in those violations, right, that we can see is, where do we continually allow for predators to take, and we don't take care of the victims, the meek, right, the lowly, the gentle, right? We can witness ourselves in those mirrors and say, okay, where do I do the same? Where do I do the same? Where do I allow these things to come in? But there's nuance to it, okay? Because if you just attach with everything that has happened to you and think that you called it in, it's going to pull you into a guilt and shame loop. And this is where truly, it's like I can give examples and I can share, but the most beautiful thing I can share with you is simply this. As you set an intention to have a deeper understanding or awareness, right? As you want to say, okay, I understand that reality is a reflection, but I truly don't know how. And you open yourself up and you open your mind and you allow yourself to be in nature or a meditative state, awareness will begin to like come in, okay? Because it's coming from within you. Like I said, you have the answers. This is why it's be a lamp unto yourself. And so, I know it's not the intention, but for those who experience murder, rape, abuse, or genocide, did they individually manifest such pain? I can tell you 1000% no, not at all. In fact, many of these people who are experiencing such things right now are in service to the collective. They are angels. They are angels incarnate in this plane. They are people who are here, and it's they pray, right, to the divine source, to God, for help, for to help take them out of the situations that they are in. The reflection that we can see in those situations is not an individual, it is a collective. It is a collective reflection, right? You can look at the macro, the abusers coming in and hurting the abused. Why does that exist? Why does that persist? Well, a lot of times it's because the meek, the loving, the lowly allow themselves to be steamrolled, to be taken advantage of, to not tap into their power, right? To feel that hopelessness and helplessness. Take that reflection, right? See those people who desperately need our help and use that as a reflection to tune into yourself. Okay, where can I reclaim more of my energy? Where can I hold a boundary? Where can I speak up more fearlessly? Where can I push forward? And as we do these things, we will also be a reflection of the wholeness that we are embodying internally, and will move to enact a world that reflects more unity, right? Love and peace. But no, these individual victims did not manifest such pain. They came and are an authentic mirror. They are an angel that is reflecting to us, that are looking at it, showing us the energetics that are at play, okay? But this right here, this is all energy. This is like where you need to step in to being a lamp unto yourself, realizing that the answers are within you, right? And as we seek, as we ask, we will receive. As we ponder, expansions will come in. As we don't understand, you can say, I don't understand this, but I want to understand. And I promise you, you will begin to see it. Okay. Any other questions that you guys have? I know it's like the holding paradox is so uncomfortable because we're used to like binary and we're used to like only one truth can be true. But the paradox is that there are many truths that are true. And so while there are reflections that are reflecting you on an individual level, there are reflections that are reflecting us at a collective level. Okay. So for an example, if you, let's say this is the center, this is the middle point, this is balance. Okay. And there's people who only embrace the light, or what they deem the light or the divine expression, right? And they don't acknowledge the shadow that is closer to that middle. Well, that fragmentation, that space is self imposed, and it has to reflect on the other side of the mirror, right? So there's also going to be a gap, but there are people that only embody the shadow, right? What we are seeing in that expression of the highest light and the darkest shadow is the distance that exists between us and unity. Unity is in the middle. Unity is all vibrations. Unity is light and shadow. It's all expression. It is the union of the masculine and feminine. It is the union of the projective and the receptive. It is the holding of paradox. This is why I have it tattooed on my finger, that circle with the line through it and the two dots. It represents the four directions, but it represents holding paradox in the middle. Okay. The reflection of the light, they are not better than the shadow. Okay. We're all actors reflecting the current energetic state of this plane. While they might contribute less physical pain to the plane, it is their non-acknowledgement of the shadow. It's their unwillingness to see it and the suppression of it that is causing it to manifest in the reflection. Okay. So this is where I say unity means unifying with everything. You don't have to unify thinking, and sorry, I just, that was kind of gross. My bad. You unify with everything. Okay. I witness myself in some of the darkest actors within this cosmic play right now. I see that potential, right? I see that shadow and I say, okay, what are the aspects or the shadows that I refuse to see within myself that I don't integrate, right? But it doesn't mean that I'm a murderer. It doesn't mean that I'm those aspects. You just look at the reflection. Everybody is contributing to one energy that is reflecting the current energetic state that we are signaling to manifest. Suppression of the shadow manifests in shadow. Suppression of light manifests in light. All of it shows us the distance between us and unity. But as we come into unity, we will witness unity externally, right? And this is why I say the paradox is you are on an individual journey, but it is also a collective journey, right? In Lakech Alakin, I am another you. We are all in this together, but to serve the collective, to be the healing, to liberate those that need liberation, right? To be a catalyst for change, for those who need inspiration to expand, right? To know that they can change, that they don't have to keep choosing a pattern, right? To step into consciousness, to be that, you just simply have to do it for you. That is it. Unity within yourself. And that unity is going to be reflected externally. The one has the power to change the all. But if one is trying to change the all externally, it's me versus everyone. That is very hard. But when I am unified with all that is, and I come into that unified state, I come into balance, and the plane is going to reflect that balance. If I'm in distortion, it has to reflect the gap. Okay. So I hope that makes sense, right? The mirror principle, I totally understand that it can be a little bit like confusing. And just know you don't have to figure it out. It's going to come in perfect timing. As you witness yourself in the mirror, a deeper depth of understanding will come in. If you want to read more about it, I have a free book linked in my bio called It Can, It Will, It Is, okay? And it goes through some of these distortions and corrections around manifestation, because we definitely want to avoid things that say, that like a victim called in an experience or physically manifested it. No, a child that is born into a war-torn area did not manifest that happening. a child that is born into an area, a girl where her values or her bodies are taken advantage of. She did not manifest that. She did not create that. Okay. But this is showing us a reflection of the structures that we have in place that incentivize such actions, right? And as we witness them, as we witness the systems, the repeating patterns that happen on an individual scale, a collective scale, our political systems, guys, they're all reflections of the same thing. It's the hierarchy internally that is manifesting as hierarchy politically, that is manifesting as hierarchy in our socioeconomic system, that is manifesting as hierarchy within our class system, that manifests as hierarchy within our interpretations of religion and spirituality, where we need to ascend. You see, it's the same thing manifesting in a different lens, angle, and perspective. And it's just calling us, you don't overcome hierarchy, you come into union. As you're in union, union will manifest. Think about how easy it would be. People are watching the World Cup right now, right? It's amazing to watch two teams competing with with each other to see who's the best. Would any of us watch a World Cup game if both teams cooperated to score goals? Probably not, because there's no drama. And we're just like, wow, this is too easy. Think about that. Competition absolutely does drive excellence and these amazing things. But imagine the energy of cooperation, unity. When we're not competing with one another, all of that energy goes towards creating and manifesting the best outcome with supplemental energy to spare to go in other areas, right? Humanity has not even begun to tap into our potential because we're too busy competing, just like a flashlight, right? The energy is fragmented, it's disorganized, it's going in different directions. Coherence is unity, coherence is balance, coherence is focus. And there's a reason why a laser, which is coherent, can cut through metal, whereas a flashlight just like illuminates. It is just the same pattern repeating at infinite scale. The ego wants to think that it's individual, that it's separate. And when you come into non-judgment and you witness yourself, you will see how you are separate in the paradox, but how you are unified with everything. Okay? That is so much to digest. And I fully understand that. And what I want you to know is, remember, there is nowhere to be. Okay. This is not a race. This is not something where you either have to do it or you're going to miss out. It is unfolding perfectly. Your depth of understanding of these principles is mirrored by your depth and understanding of who you are. What is going on in your internal universe? I promise you, my friends, it is your internal world that is shaping the external. It is your internal world that is being reflected externally. It is light, it is consciousness that is coming into a prism, and that light is being refracted and creates this illusion of separation, this whole spectrum that we can see, but it's all the same source. This is how you can be in the paradox of one with everything, because you are that source. It is you. You are the entire drop contained in an ocean. The light that is expressing through me, through you, through Christine, through Donald Trump, through Bibi Netanyahu, that same light is the same light everywhere, even though as it fragments through the prism, it signals a different form of expression, okay, in the 3D. This is where we are unified in our uniformity. We are the one, but we are also unified in our scarcity, in our differences, in our individual expression. But the key to remember, and I'll just finish with this, as I said, because it's the most important, this is not about chasing light. Chasing light is still fragmentation, okay? Avoiding pieces of you that you don't want to see is still fragmentation. And that suppression, that avoidance, what is invisible to you, the shadow, it manifests, right? This is why Jesus says, look at what is in your sight. That which is hidden from you will become plain to you, for there's nothing hidden that does not manifest. Everything is manifesting always. All of us is manifesting. So if you can't see yourself in the reflection, that is the time to get curious and to simply contemplate, not why is this a reflection of me, but maybe how or where, right? Look at it from many different angles because it is the same source expressing from infinite lenses, angles, and perspectives. Okay. So I love you. You are exactly where you're supposed to be. Everything is unfolding perfectly. Manifestation is not about creation. It is not me sitting here saying, I'm manifesting a unicorn. I'm manifesting a unicorn. I'm manifesting a unicorn. And when I finally put enough energy towards a unicorn, it manifests. Manifestation is the realization that when I embody wholeness, a mirror of that wholeness could be the universe creating a unicorn, right? And I experienced that unicorn and I'm like, wow, this is me in my whole state. But I didn't consciously create it. I embodied wholeness and it reflected wholeness back to me. The unicorn is a silly example. If you're chasing a dream job, if you're chasing more money, if you're chasing a relationship that makes you feel whole, seen, or loved, get curious with the reflection. Okay, I want a relationship where I'm loved fully. Why do I want that relationship? Well, I want to be understood. Why do I need to be understood? Well, I feel like I'm not understood right now. Well, if I am being reflected to in my reality that nobody sees me or understands me, where do I not understand myself? Where do I not fully see myself? Where do I not allow myself to speak? Right? And then as you source the thing that you're looking for, if you're chasing money, why do I want money? Because I want to feel safe. I want to feel validated. I want to do good. Okay, well, let me look at that reflection. Why does safety come from money? Because if I truly remember that I have everything I need right now, that I'm connected to an energetic mycelium network, just like the trees, the roots are connected to the mycelium, they share resources. That is a reflection of the energy you're connected to. You always have exactly what you need, always. So if I always have exactly what I need, do I really need more money to feel safe? No, I can feel safety right now. But why don't I feel safe? Let me witness that shadow and bring it into union. I want validation. Why do I need something outside of me to validate me? Does anybody outside of me know who I am internally? No. Can they see me if I'm not expressing? No. So I can be that source validation that I'm looking for. I want to do good with money. Why is my doing good predicated on money? Is the only way I can do good with money. Well, what good can I do right now? If my soul really wants to do good and help, what can I do right now? Okay. As you source these energies internally in the now, reality will shift and reflect the love, the validation, the abundance that you're expressing right now. Could that express in a dream job? Yes. Could that express as you inheriting money? Sure. Could it express as you winning the lottery? Sure. Could it express as you creating a job and all of a sudden traction starts coming in and success starts happening? Absolutely. The safety that you're looking for. Could that manifest in a relationship? Yeah. Could it manifest in your dream house? Yes. Could it manifest in a dream job? Yes. Could it manifest in your current familial relationships rising? Yes. All of these things have infinite expressions. So manifestation is not about creating a specific. It is about using the mirror to look at the core energy that you are looking for, sourcing that energy and allowing all of the reflections to come in because safety can be reflected in infinite ways. The way that I know safety is going to be manifest for most of us and all of us as we embody unity and wholeness is a safer environment for those outside of us. Why? Because they are not other than me. You are not other than me. I am you. I am the same energy that you are, witnessing each other through a different lens or mirror. But I am you. You are me, which is why I want to create a world where every life is valued because I want my life to be valued. And I am you, right? And so all of this, all of it is a reflection, the code behind this reality, the purpose of this reality, everything is so that you can witness what you are fully, so that you can understand who and what you are fully. And in your witnessing and in your understanding, you will connect to the power that has always been there, the power that is the source of all of creation, the power that holds all of this together, the power that has infinite perspectives and lenses is not outside of you. It's not outside of you. You contain all of it. We are all co-creators here, right? And it's as we witness that that we come into alignment, because this isn't about force. This isn't about you translating this through hierarchy, being like, oh, I'm the savior, I'm Jesus. You don't need to be any of that. If you truly understand unity, you realize the power that you are right now. No change is necessary, okay? And so I love you all. Have an amazing night. Meditate on these things and remember, it is curiosity and wonder that expands us. And so, if you don't understand something right now, it is beautiful and amazing. And I'm happy to share my current understanding, my thoughts, my perspectives. But the expanded path, the being the lamp unto yourself, the drinking of the water and never thirsting, eating of the bread and never hungering again, that comes from your wonder, your curiosity, and your openness and your trust that it all unfolds perfectly, because these things happen piece by piece, bit by bit, expand and contract. It's all serving you. And so all we need to do is come into the awareness of how, where, why. As you ask those questions, pieces are going to start clicking. As pieces click internally, the pieces are going to click externally. I experience it every day, my friends, and you do too, even if you're not aware of it.